Hey everyone! So let's talk about artificial intelligence. We all know it's poised to completely reshape our world, right? But with that incredible power comes some pretty incredible risk. Today, we're going to dive into what's called the trust imperative. Basically, how we navigate the super complex ethics of AI to make sure it actually serves humanity instead of, harming it. And really, right at the heart of this whole debate is a paradox. On one hand, you have this amazing promise, AI systems that can work with superhuman speed and scale, and, we hoped, systems that would be more objective than we are. But on the other hand, the peril is just as big. We're talking about AI that can accidentally bake in discrimination, invade our privacy like never before, and create these weird accountability gaps where, when something goes wrong, nobody's really to blame. So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How do we walk this tightrope? How do we get all the amazing benefits of AI without stumbling into all the dangers? This is the massive challenge facing everyone right now, from the people building this tech to the people making the laws. Okay, to really get a handle on the problem, we need to understand the key technology here: automated decision-making, or ADM. Now, this isn't just about computers giving us a hand. No, this is a huge shift where algorithms are either steering or completely taking over for human experts in making critical, life-changing decisions. We're talking about who gets a job, who gets a loan, even who gets parole from prison. You see, when we hand these decisions over to an algorithm, we're not just offloading a task. We're creating this tangled web of ethical risks. And this isn't just a tech issue. We're talking about real challenges to the core ideas of fairness and privacy that our societies are literally built on. So let's jump into the first major pillar of this challenge: the bias in the machine. This is where we look at how these algorithms, which are supposed to be neutral, can actually soak up and even amplify our own worst human biases. For a long time, there was this myth that code would be perfectly objective, right? Free from all the messy biases that humans have. But as this quote points out, once these things hit the real world, that illusion just shattered. Algorithms can discriminate, and they often do, sometimes in ways that are really hard to see. And this Amazon case is just a perfect example. They built an AI to screen job applicants. Make sense? They trained it on 10 years of their own hiring data. But here's the problem. That data came from a male-dominated tech industry. So the AI learned that men were preferable. It literally started penalizing resumes that had the word women's in them, like women's chess club. And that's illegal discrimination. The key thing here is the machine didn't just invent this bias out of nowhere. It learned it from us. Now, this whole problem of learned bias gets even scarier when you apply it to something like the criminal justice system. Get this. In Oakland, California, drug use rates are pretty much the same across different racial groups, but Black neighborhoods see 200 times more drug arrests. Now, that number doesn't reflect who's committing crimes. It reflects who's being policed. And this is the exact kind of skewed data we started feeding into predictive policing algorithms. And what that creates is this vicious, destructive feedback loop. It goes like this. 1, you start with biased data because you're over-policing certain areas. 2, the AI trains on that data and learns to connect those communities with crime. 3, the algorithm then tells the police to go back to those same neighborhoods. And 4, they make more arrests there, which, in the AI's mind, proves it was right from the start. It ends up confusing policing with crime, and it just creates this self-fulfilling prophecy of injustice. So, that data, the fuel for these systems, that brings us right to our second pillar: data privacy. AI systems are incredibly hungry for data, and their massive appetite for our personal information is creating totally new kinds of privacy risks. And here's where things get really, really tricky. You've got this fundamental tension. To fix the bias problems we just talked about, you actually need to look at sensitive data, race, gender, age, to see if the AI is being discriminatory. But to protect people's privacy, you are legally and ethically supposed to lock that exact same data down. It is a classic catch-22. This whole problem gets supercharged with the big AIs we're all talking about now: large language models, or LLMs. A huge risk with them is something called memorization. Basically, an LLM trained on the whole internet can accidentally memorize sensitive, private information it saw in its training data, like a person's private emails or medical info, and then just spit it out later in response to a totally unrelated question. It's a huge privacy leak waiting to happen. So how do you solve a puzzle like that? Well, one of the most promising ideas is to be proactive. Instead of just trying to clean up real data after the fact, a new approach is to create what's called synthetic data. This data is statistically identical to the real stuff, so the AI can learn all the same patterns, but it's completely fake. It means no one's actual private information can ever be leaked because it was never there to begin with. Pretty cool, right? Okay, that brings us to our third and final pillar, the black box problem. And this really gets to the core of accountability. If our most powerful AIs are so complicated that even the people who made them can't fully explain why it made a specific decision, well, how can any of us trust it? How can we hold anyone responsible when it fails? And this slide shows another one of those critical trade-offs. On the left, you've got simple, transparent models, like a decision tree. You can literally follow the logic from top to bottom. Super easy to explain, but often not very accurate. Then, on the right, you have the black box models, like the deep neural networks that power so much of modern AI. They are incredibly powerful and accurate, but their inner workings are a total mystery. The answer to this black box problem is a whole field of research called Explainable AI, or XAI. The entire point of XAI is to create tools that can basically crack open that black box and give us human-friendly reasons for why an AI did what it did. And this isn't just some nice academic exercise. It's absolutely essential for things like legal accountability and for building public trust. All right, so we've laid out the three big problems: bias, privacy, and accountability. Now let's switch gears and look at the solutions. How is the world actually trying to build a rulebook for AI? Well, the biggest move so far has come out of Europe. The EU AI Act is a huge deal. It's the world's first comprehensive law for artificial intelligence. And its central idea is a risk-based approach. The logic is simple. The riskier the AI is, the stricter the rules should be. And this table breaks it down perfectly. At the very top, you have unacceptable risk AI. Think government social scoring systems or AI that manipulates people. That stuff is just flat out banned, gone. Then you have high-risk systems, things like AI used in hiring or for credit scores. Those faced really strict rules. Then you have things like chatbots or deepfakes, which fall under transparency, meaning you just have to disclose that it's AI. And finally, low-risk stuff like spam filters, basically no new rules. And these bans are a big deal. The law is prohibiting some really concerning stuff, like AI that's designed to deceive people, or scraping billions of faces off the internet to build facial recognition databases, or even using emotion recognition AI on students in schools or employees at work. This law definitely has teeth. That requirement to label things like deepfakes, it gets at a really deep societal threat. This quote just nails it. AI-generated fakes don't just spread lies. They attack our epistemic trust. That's a fancy term for our shared ability to agree on what's real. And when we can't trust what we see or hear anymore, well, the foundations of a democratic society start to crumble. So, we've seen how bias, privacy invasions, and this lack of accountability are threatening the promise of AI. And regulations, like the EU's AI Act, are a critical first step. They're the foundation. But at the end of the day, the goal has to be about more than just checking a box for compliance. It has to be about building real, genuine, human-centric trust. And the good news is there is a path forward. It means we have to actually enforce these new rules. We have to require companies to actively look for and fix bias in their systems, and we have to prioritize advanced privacy tech, like that synthetic data we were talking about. The future of AI isn't some fixed destination. It's a story that we are all writing right now, with every choice we make. The technology itself is neutral, but how we use it will be shaped by our values. So the real question for all of us is, how are we going to choose to build this future? How will we make sure it's one that truly serves all of humanity?